Today, we're going to talk about attachment anxiety. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what it is, how it fits into the overall theory of attachment, including attachment styles, and most importantly, we're going to talk about some safe techniques that you can begin using today to help work through attachment anxiety when it happens. Hi, if you're new to this channel, my name is Tom Philp, and I've been working with individuals and couples for decades, helping them work through their traumas to create a safe and secure relationship. Okay, let's dig in. Now, when we talk about attachment anxiety, we're actually talking about one component of an overall attachment behavioral system. And so there's actually four components when we talk about attachment. There's the fear system, there is the attachment system, there is the exploratory system, and there is the caregiving system. So these four different components actually make up overall attachment theory. Let's break them down real quickly. So the fear-based system is when we feel that there is a threat to the relationship, a threat to the emotional bond between us and our partner, between a child and their caregiver. When that threat occurs, it sends some kind of signal through our body, which is usually anxiety, that the relationship is becoming strained. And so that fear warning is sort of built into us, and it's part of our attachment system. The other parts, the second one that we're going to talk about is the attachment system itself, or the attachment behavior, which is simply that when we feel a threat, then what we do is we go to somebody who's stronger, wiser, in order to get a sense of reconnection, safety, and reassurance. And so our attachment behavior draws us to somebody else in order to seek that reassurance when we feel that we are scared or alone, or there is that strain in the attachment bond. That's the second part of the system. The third part is the caregiving system. So when our partner is sensing some kind of fear, we should be able to lean into that. Whether it's a child or our adult partner or our married partner, we lean into their fear in order to help protect them and take care of them, comfort them, and give them that reassurance. So that's the third component. And finally, the last component is once we reestablish that bond, then we feel safe and secure again in that relationship. And as a result, we can now turn our focus to things outside of the relationship. So we can return our focus to playing if we're a child, to building blocks, or to going out and doing our job and throwing ourselves into our work or our community involvements, those kinds of things. Because once we feel safe in that relationship, then that allows us to be able to turn our focus outward and do other things. So those are the four different components of attachment theory. Today, we're honing in on the fear-based system of that, which means that when we sense that there is a strain in the bond, our body sends us signals, usually in the form of anxiety. And sometimes that anxiety shows up in our stomach. For some people, it might show up like a lump in the throat, but nonetheless, what's happening is our nervous system is cueing us. It's helping us pay attention to that strained relationship when it happened. So that essentially is what attachment anxiety is. It's the physiological feeling that we get when we feel like a relationship is strained, or the emotional bond between us and our partner is strained, either through a rupture that might be happening, a misunderstanding, whatever it might be. We can sense there's some stress and anxiety that's happening there, and our body cues us in on that. When that happens, we usually respond in a couple of different ways, and this is where our attachment styles come in. When we feel anxious, the person that tends to have more of the anxious style of attachment, what it does is it hyperactivates their attachment system. Remember, that's the second part the second system that I talked about. The attachment system says, I've got to go and do whatever it takes to get my partner to reestablish this connection. We've got to figure this out and talk it through now. And so you tend to come with a lot of energy towards your partner and a lot of sometimes panic and sometimes aggressiveness towards your partner because that's what you're feeling inside. I need reassurance. I need to reestablish my connection immediately. And the only way I know to do that is to turn on the heat up on you. The only way I know to do that is to get you to pay attention to me no matter what I have to do it. And so once we have that fear system that has been activated in us, it then hyperactivates for the anxious attachment person their attachment style, and usually they pursue rather aggressively their partner in order to get that sense of safety and security back, in order to basically soothe their anxiety. Now, if you lean more towards the avoidance style of attachment, it doesn't mean that you don't experience anxiety, but you experience it in a very, very different way. So if you tend to lean more towards an avoidance style of attachment, then oftentimes your particular style is to quickly try to distance yourself from that anxiety. You feel it too, but you're not going to feel it, and it's not going to be overwhelming to you because you're going to do whatever it takes to distance yourself. So you're going to shut off your emotions, or you're going to kind of get foggy and confused, or you're going to try to intellectualize what's going on. You may cut off your emotions from sort of your body and just try to intellectualize what might be happening in the conversation with your partner in that moment. So you're still feeling anxiety, but on the outside, it doesn't look like it. You've got it locked down pretty well. And so on the outside, it might appear to your partner that you don't care, that maybe you're checked out, you're not really listening. They don't feel that you can feel for them because you've sort of cut off that sense of anxiety in yourself because it's uncomfortable and you don't want to feel that. And so oftentimes it can come across as rather cold or uncaring, not because that's the way you feel inside, but because that's how your nervous system has learned to protect you. So your ability to try to reach out to your partner in those moments is very limited because actually when you feel that anxiety, you turn off or you downregulate or you disconnect from those attachment needs. And so in that sense, what's safest for you is to not reach out and get comfort and care and soothing from your partner, but to rather distance yourself and go and self-soothe. And so those are a couple of different ways that attachment anxiety shows up as individuals in our relationship. And of course, it doesn't take much to recognize that this is very easy for us to be able to create a system, right? A vicious cycle that we can get caught in when we tend to respond one way with our attachment anxiety versus another because of the way our nervous system has learned to protect us. All right, let's talk about, well, what do we do? How can we help calm our nervous system? How can we help calm our attachment anxiety so that we can actually break free from these vicious cycles that we get caught in? Well, one of the first things we need to do is we need to be able to name and nurture and notice that anxiety. And so for the more avoidant style, not distancing yourself from the anxiety, but rather trying to notice what feelings or sensations am I having in my body right now? Is this anxiety? Do I feel at all weird in my stomach? Do I feel like there's a little lump in my throat? Maybe the only thing I feel is this sense of, oh, I don't want to do this. This is going to go bad. And that may be the way your anxiety shows up inside you. And so just noticing that you distance yourself, noticing that is there any kind of sensation you can feel in your body, and try to hold on to that long enough to name it. Oh, this is my warning system. This is my anxiety telling me that I'm kind of dreading this conversation. And then the last piece is, can you just allow yourself to nurture through that? Can you just say to yourself, you know what? This isn't going to kill me. I can hold on to this feeling a little bit longer so that I can try to stay engaged in this conversation. So I can try to show up and be a little more emotionally available to my partner. And I will be okay. I won't die. This won't be the end of our relationship. This is uncomfortable. I may not like this, but I can get through this. This too shall pass. And of course, if you're more of the anxious style, then your role is to be able to self-soothe, oftentimes maybe before you even come to your partner and talk about what's important to you. So being able to talk about, okay, I know my partner's protection style. I want to be able to soothe myself. This is uncomfortable. I don't like this, but I'm going to be okay. I'm safe here and now. My partner cares about me. They want to hear what I have to say. We will eventually work this through. My partner wants to know me, to understand me better. And so any type of soothing conversation, nurturing voice that you can create inside of you can help you in those moments. The last one I want to mention is a grounding technique, and this is really applicable for both. So if you're more of the avoidance style, helping yourself ground yourself, coming back to the here and now instead of trying to just go to your head. So the one I like that I use a lot is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Name 5 colors. Name 4 objects. Can you name 3 things that you can touch, 2 things that you can hear, and 1 thing that you can smell? And so all that does is sort of just reorient you back into your body, hopefully a little bit, and back into the here and now if you start to distance yourself and start to shut down. If you are more of the anxious style, then what you really want to do is you want to be able to sort of use that grounding technique to try to calm your anxiety and get you from a fight and flight response back into the window of tolerance. So using the same 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hopefully that allows you to be able to come back into the here and now and to notice just hopefully the slowing of your heartbeat during those times where you're trying to self-soothe a little bit more and getting yourself a little more regulated so that you don't show up with so much energy and emotion and hopefully overwhelm your partner. All right, I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to follow and subscribe and leave me a comment below.